Welcome, everyone, to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rants alongside Tommy Christ and TK over at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. I'm coming to you from an undisclosed location of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and we are presented by La Bears Casino. La Bears Casino going to be rocking and rolling this weekend with the NFL season underway. Heck, it starts tonight. You got the Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. The Barstool Sportsbook, the place to go to have some great food and watch the game. And that's in right there at the window. All the different ways you can place bets right there. If you don't have any questions, you got a professional to answer the questions for you at the Barstool Sportsbook. Speaking of the game tonight, the NFL gets underway. It's amazing. It's already here. Kansas City is a 5-point favorite against the Detroit Lions. Although the Chiefs a little bit banged up, Travis Kelce expected not to play out of abundance of caution. They've got 10 days in between this game and the next one. It's expected that they'll hold him out. He tweaked his knee at practice, didn't just hyperextended it. Seems to be fine. Maybe can go today, but I would think if I was the Chiefs, no reason to risk Travis Kelce opening game of the year, which means that if he doesn't play, you've got only one receiver that has 100 catches or more in that lineup for their career. So a little bit of an undermanned Chiefs team potentially going against the Lions.
Well, and the Lions were a better team last year than they were the year before. They are slightly trending upward. Yeah, the coach is a piece of work. You know, he's got all his crazy things he says and does and gets attention. And, you know, and there's some who think, you know, the Lions have got a shot in the North this year with Aaron Rodgers not being in Green Bay, et cetera. And, you know, I'll throw this out here, a little Sports Shorts Daily for you. I mean, the Lions on the money line tonight are plus 200. That's incredible value. You don't see that much in an NFL game. You know, and without Kelce and without the defensive end, Jones for the Chiefs. I know the game's in Kansas City. You know, I just think there's a little value there. Small bet's probably worth it because the Lions are coming in trying to send a message of, hey, we are better as people think we are. And if they can beat the Chiefs tonight in Kansas City, that's a loud message.
Well, the other thing, too, is we've seen over the years from time to time teams like the Patriots with Tom Brady or Mahomes even a little bit last year, you know, or year before, you know, sometimes it takes them a minute to get out the gate, right? They're not as good in September as they are in December. And especially with a franchise like the Chiefs where their expectation is Super Bowl or nothing, right? And so, you know, they're not worried about being the best team in September. They're worried about being the best team in February. And it's a long road. And sometimes that focus or they're not clicking on all cylinders just yet. So the Lions, like you, to your point, have a lot more to prove and can really set their season in the right direction with a victory in week one. Talking about the question is Jared Goff. Do you have the faith and the belief that Jared Goff is a Super Bowl winning quarterback? We know he's played in a Super Bowl, and then we know in that Super Bowl they put, I think, 3 points up. But, you know, do you think a franchise can ride the back of Jared Goff all the way to the Super Bowl?
Well, that'll be a question. By the way, your mom says hello from San Diego.
Yeah.
That on the screen, but we got that up there for you.
Hi, Mom. Remember when that was a thing? Remember when that was a thing in the late 70s and the early 80s? You know, all the players or athletes in general, whenever they would stick a camera in their face, "Hi, Mom," like that went around for 5-10 years. Where that
and then it was followed up with, "Hi, Mom, send money." You know, right. Kids at the college game, please send money. Now,
"Hi, Mom, send money."
That was before text messaging, and you know, that was a different world back then. But you had to hold the sign up at the ball game, at the stadium, to say, "Mom, send money." I can remember my mother used to go to the bank in Chalmette and put a little bit in my account when need be or whatever. So that's the way it went back there. Couldn't Venmo, you know.
You know, what's funny is there never was a phase where it was "Hi, Dad." "Hi, Mom," but no "Hi, Dad." You know.
I don't know. That's crazy.
But tonight's game, I know you're gonna go ahead and take the Lions +5. I think it's actually got some value right there. You know, if you can get the 5, my guy had it at 4.5. But if you can get 5, it's worth it. I think that's, you know, a field goal game between two expected to be pretty good teams, playoff teams. makes sense week one. Um, by the way, Patrick Mahomes, of course, who I know you watched the series quarterback, and I did, and a lot of people that are on this Sports Shorts Daily thread have watched the series quarterback on Netflix. It's fantastic. Reports are Peyton Manning hasn't been able to find, he's been having trouble and continues to have trouble finding quarterbacks that want to be on the show. People have turned him down. I'm sure they're going to find somebody or a couple people. But are you surprised? I mean, I would have thought after year one, to me, it wasn't anything that disparaged the quarterbacks. I think, if anything, you got to know Mahomes and Mariota and obviously Cousins better. And all of them came across well. I think Mariota, is the only one that maybe didn't come across as well. And it didn't have anything to do with the quarterback documentary. It was the fact that he just quit.
Yeah, well, maybe some people don't want the privacy invasion thing into their home, the family, the kids, the wife, But I mean, if enough money's there, that could change somebody's mind. But and I'm not, those guys are constantly got a camera in their face or a microphone in their face. Do they want additional stuff? I don't know. I'm not defending them because I thoroughly enjoyed that feature, that series, the quarterback series. It taught me a lot about those guys, and it taught me a lot about the NFL and what it takes, to be an NFL quarterback. It's a little bit more than coming out the huddle and executing the play, going through your reads. It's a lot more. So, I'd be surprised. I guess if they don't do that, they'll, change it to cornerback or, tight end. Somebody's going to take the money and say, yeah, bring them cameras in here. Go talk to the wife while I'm, still at the training room, whatever.
Well, the other thing, too, is that it's not – I mean, look, it's not that these guys have cameras embedded in their lives 24/7. I mean, these are scheduled scenarios where, they probably don't even have cameras. They don't have cameras every day. There's certain times of the year that they come and record things. A lot of these interviews aren't done, weekly or daily. They're done, maybe a couple times during the season. So, or even after the season. It's just surprising in this day and age that they're struggling to get the quarterbacks that they want to be in this documentary. But no doubt, if they at the end of the day can't really find what they want, they'll have no trouble finding cornerbacks or wide receivers. Those guys will be lining up to be on a.
Well, let me ask you this, right? Okay, if Peyton Manning calls you up and says, "Look, we're going to do this Texas Collegiate League owner thing," you do it?
100%. Matter of fact, It's interesting you say that because it's something that we've talked about internally. Is it would be a heck of a documentary to follow internally, say the Rougarou, because there's so much that goes into it, and things that would be interesting, and the dynamic of off the field, on the field, the players' lives, the front office, the things you got to do throughout the year to market and promote a upcoming, blue collar kind of company. It actually was something that we've discussed, Tommy, and talked about with a friend of mine who's in the movie business. Don't know if it'll actually really happen or not, but it's something that I would do because I do think the publicity and what it does for your brand, and in this case, say the Baton Rouge Rougarou, a little small Texas Collegiate League business, would be tremendous.
Well, because I'm kind of involved in the inner workings, I think it'd be very interesting to people to see what you guys do, not at 7:00 at Pete Colesby Field. What takes place Monday morning and Wednesday morning and the day after a game and leading up to the season with all the promotions and the marketing. And I think people would find it quite interesting. I really do.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. All right, so the NFL underway. We know that we'll talk a lot more Saints and Titans tomorrow as we look at that game on Sunday at noon in the Dome, which I think, the over-under is 9.5 wins for the Saints on the season. The Titans game, the Saints are a 3-point favorite. I think this Titans game is a tremendous struggle and a tremendously difficult game right off the bat. This is a good Titans organization, a veteran quarterback, which the Saints don't play a ton of veteran quarterbacks on their schedule this year. And Tannehill, and this is a tough one against a solid, good Tennessee team. They're and it's still a Saints organization where we still have a lot of hope. we think Derek Carr is going to be a playoff championship quarterback. We think he's got the P word potential, and now with the Saints. But until it all comes together, until we all see it, it's still it's still hope.
Yeah, well, and I think what the Saints have to do to get over that 9.5 wins, they got to get it back. Remember years ago when teams hated to come to the Dome and play? I mean, and their success record wasn't there. Well, in the last 3-4 years, the visiting team's done well in the Dome. I don't think the Saints have a winning record the last 3 years in the Dome. So they got to restore that with the help of the fans and the football play on the field. I'll have a prediction, I guess, Saturday on Sports Shorts Radio when we're at the Barstool Sportsbook on the Saints game. I kind of know where I'm going, but I'm going to read a few more things. One thing we do know, Jake Hayner will not be in the building because he was suspended for 6 games.
How about that?
Performance enhancing. Well, Ronnie, gives his quote. He doesn't know how it got in his body. If you don't know how it got in your body, you got a big problem. Okay? He said everything he took and didn't list that banned substance that he tested positive for. He's known about this for 3 months. Of course, it just came out. But, I mean, how many times do we have to tell these NFL guys, before you put anything in your body, you need to call that 800 number into New York and say, look, I'm about to take, Ronnie's special pill. Here's the label. Can I take it? I mean, how long does that, especially when he's suspended, he doesn't get paid. Okay? That's 6 paychecks he does not get.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's odd, right? Quarterback, especially a quarterback, who's not he's not some big Tim Tebow muscle guy. What did he take? And here's the other thing. If you have nothing to lose, Tommy, if you have nothing to hide, if you didn't take anything shady or do anything shady, then just tell us what you took, right? Like come out. Like I know that come out and say, hey, I tested positive for XYZ. I don't know what XYZ is. Here's all the GNC products that I took. I've been drinking this protein shake, been taking this thing. For the last 3 months, I've known about it. I've gone through with my agents trying to figure out where we went wrong, and we can. If somebody out there knows better, let me know. If you truly didn't do anything wrong, then come forward like that. When you don't talk about it, when you don't say what it is that you tested positive for, or what are the substances or the protein shakes or the pills or whatever you took to try to, then to me, you're not believable.
What? Yeah, and you come off as a dumbass. You mean you don't know how this happened? You know what it was. So now tell us. And I don't all this privacy stuff. He looks like a dumbass now, and he looks like a guy who I mean, it's not a good look for him. It's not going to affect the Saints. The odds of him taking a snap in the first 6 games was slim and none, and Slim left town. So it's not going to really affect the Saints other than the image of it and his image. And, maybe one day that keeps him from somebody else signing him one day. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jameis Winston and then Taysom Hill on the team. I mean, it's not like
they changed the depth chart last week and put Hill as the 3rd quarterback because the Saints knew this was coming.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's big news out of LSU, and somebody who's not a dumbass, but she's just super rich is Kim Mulkey. It's expected she's going to sign a 10-year, $32 million package. She's 61 years old. That would have her coach until she's 71. It would be guaranteed money if she lives out the contract. She's right now. She's basically the highest paid coach. Ariema and Staley, Ariema at Connecticut, Staley at South Carolina are right there in that same range, just around $3 million. It's amazing to me, Tommy, that LSU women's basketball is paying a coach $3.2 million. That goes to the greatness of Kim Mulkey and how she proved her value right away. You're talking about LSU jumped from a women's basketball coach that was making less than $1 million to all of a sudden a coach making 3.2. 4 times the amount of money that the old coach was making is what they paid Kim Mulkey to get her to leave Baylor to come to LSU, and she made it. She proved it was worth it. She proved that she's worth the money. And oh, by the way, it's not just the 3.2 million because she could get more if she wanted. It's the fact that she has one of the biggest staffs in America for basketball, men or women. You should see they got more staff than they do players by a lot. When you talk about
way more
film people and assistants, so she wants, she wants all of them to get paid, and she wants to have the biggest staff in the country. Trust me, she could get $4 million if she wanted, but she understands that she's got to have some money left over for everybody else.
Yeah, she does, and I mean, she's earned it from day one in her career to now. She got into LSU, and everybody expected great things because of her resume. When the day she was hired, that's arguably the greatest hire of a coach by LSU in any sport, considering the person's resume the day they got here. And then, of course, year two, she wins a national title. Going to play South Carolina at home on a Thursday night in the spring. That'll be a sellout for sure. The attendance is up, the brand, the national championship, the recruiting, which was very good, is now even better. Ronnie, I saw some clips of Michaela Williams. That's the girl that I've talked about. I saw her play in Hammond for Parkway High School when we were working the girls' state championship tournament. She would have been the best player on the floor for LSU last year. And I mean that. She would have been the best player last year in the championship game against Iowa. That's how good she is. And I saw some clips of her the other day in some summer ball. She's even better. She got a couple of pounds off of her, which was probably needed. And LSU basketball, women's basketball, put your seatbelt on. It's going to be a hell of a ride.
Another LSU great who's getting paid is Joe Burrow. He's about to ink a big-time extension, going to be the highest-paid player in the NFL. Package going to be over $250 million, $100 million guaranteed, $15 million signing bonuses every year when he gets to camp. I mean, another guy who just right place, right time. It's amazing to think what Joe Burrow's career would be like, TK, had he stayed at Ohio State, even though he loved Ohio State, from the state of Ohio, all that kind of stuff. Had he just stayed and did what the Ohio State fans wanted him to do, hey, stick it out, your time will come, blah, blah, blah. Had he stayed, we wouldn't be talking to him like this, talking about him.
Yeah, well, he made a great decision to come down to LSU. He raised his stock significantly through the roof. And Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. Dan Patrick made an interesting comment this morning. And I saw the clip when he was talking about wanting to be a Bengal for the rest of his life and all that. He's so cool. They call him Joe Cool. All right, they called him that at LSU. Dan Patrick wondered if he's like that in the huddle. Is he Joe Cool? You got a 4th and 3, you're trying to win the game. Does he get amped up, or is he just said, okay, X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's go? Yeah, and of course, maybe he should get on that quarterback thing. He'd have even more money. Peyton Manning needs to call him up and see what's going on there. That would be interesting. But he's arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And he had the greatest college quarterback season ever, and that may not be replicated.
By the way, a little news note that came out yesterday, and it was interesting. The verbiage of what the release came out from LSU, causing an open flame burn ban on campus for tailgating on Saturday. What they were doing was they were copying the state restrictions because there's been some wildfires and things like that all over the state of Louisiana with, there's so much the heat and the dryness. And so they put out a release saying, a burn ban, open flames. All people lost their mind, regarding tailgating between LSU and Grambling this Saturday. And oh, by the way, Southern did the same thing. They've got Jackson State at home, one of their biggest rivals, and be a tremendous crowd over on the bluff. So you got both schools putting out these burn bans and these giant tailgates that are planned. People are losing their mind. They did come out in the afternoon and kind of correct it and explain exactly what they meant by that. You can have your barbecue pit out there with your propane tank. That's fine. They just don't want barrels. They don't want, the open, the pits, the fire pits, things like that. But as far as just traditional barbecue pits and things, absolutely, you can do that for LSU and Southern this weekend. But there was about a half a day where people were freaking out, saying, "Wait a minute, we can't cook at the LSU games. It's bad enough we can't park under the oaks." But they got it straight.
Well, hopefully they got it straight, and hopefully people are smart. If you're going to barbecue, grill, whatever you want to call it, be smart. Be aware that we're in a situation of the heat and the dry, and hopefully you'll think that all out and be smart. Have plenty of fire extinguishers handy. If all of a sudden you got to put something out so it doesn't spread to the group next to you or down the street, all that stuff's got to be in play.
Yeah, the one thing that they did say was, hey, they asked that people bring a fire extinguisher with you out of precaution. They ask that you bring some water source or whatever in case of something crazy, so you can put out any fires. But people did freak out for about a half a day. Or hey, just go to Calandro's, or get you a to-go order. Get you
Tremonti's, go somewhere.
Exactly. Go over there, get you a to-go order, and then you don't have to worry about it. Tulane sold out. They put out a big release. The Green Wave are sold out in their big game against Ole Miss, 2:30 on Saturday. They are a 7-point dog. Are the Green Wave? I figured it would be sold out, but congratulations, they finally got one done.
Well, and tip of the hat to Lane Kiffin. He, like many coaches, came out and ripped the new clock rules with the clock not stopping. And he made a great point, right? Why do we want to shorten the games? He goes, it's entertainment. He goes, do you go to a country music concert and they're going to tell the guy, hey, play 2 less songs tonight? Okay, we've got to get out of here. Good point by Lane Kiffin. And, and Trey Blossman and I talked on the podcast yesterday. If the game is close, I don't care what the score is. If it's a 1 or even a 2-score game, there's nobody on the planet looking at their watch and going, you know what, I've been here 3 hours, I got to leave. Or I've been having the TV on for 3 hours. Let me put on reruns of King of the Hill. I mean, they're totally misreading the fans with that, I think. And it goes back to the number one problem with the NCAA is there's no leadership. Absolutely none. And, there's talk now of developing a football commissioner. Of course, that would coincide with football separate from the other sports. That's not going to happen overnight. That's down the road. But, I mean, the new clock rules, Chip Kelly ripped everybody on his halftime report at the UCLA Coastal Carolina game. Many coaches have come out and said, this is ridiculous. And, it wasn't broke. Why try to fix it? College football is a very popular thing, extremely popular. And they just keep, like they had to tinker with it, just to tinker with it. And it's catching a lot of grief.
Yeah, because like, for example, this Saturday, you've got a couple other good games. The Colorado taking on Nebraska. The whole country wants to see, can Colorado do it back-to-back weeks? How good is Colorado? I've had some friendly debates with some friends of mine, that don't think Colorado is, like, hey, why are you getting excited about the Colorado win over TCU? Well, the guy, on the road, they against TCU. Yeah, TCU is not like they were last year, but TCU is a top 20 program year in and year out in the country, and on the road to put up over 500 yards, to have a player have 11 catches and an interception. I mean, like, this is special stuff that Colorado's doing. Yeah, this Buffalo team may not be national championship contender, but to have one win a year ago, what was your expectation, Tommy, of Deion Sanders in Colorado, honestly, prior to last week against TCU? In your mind, what did you think they would do this year?
Well, I thought they had a chance to cover against TCU because TCU lost a lot of players. But as I've said, the day they hired Deion Sanders till now, they've got more publicity than they've got in the last 20 years for their football program and the university. And so I think when you in a spring game with all the attendance and all this stuff, it's Deion Sanders having toes amputated. I mean, there's all kind of stories. All right, and the total roster turnover thing, basically the total roster. And for them to still go in there and win, I'm impressed, okay? I think they're going to beat Nebraska, who's not any good, this week. Now, can they win 6 games? I think that's the realistic goal, I thought. Can they win 6 games and go to a bowl? Maybe get lucky, win the 7th game. But that's what I thought going into the season. Now I'm thinking, don't tell them they can't do it, because they have answered the bell countless times since the day Deion Sanders got hired. On the field and off the field, they've answered the bell, and I think they're going to answer it at home Saturday morning against Nebraska. And, of course, we're doing the radio. We're going to be able to watch that at the Barstool Sportsbook. We can make a bet, and then we're going to watch the first part of that game while we're doing Sports Shorts Radio.
I honestly, my thought going into the season was, can they have a winning record? Can they make a bowl? Can they, I thought, 75 new players. Dion, bring in some good ones. 5, 6 like that. Hey, you go from 1 win to 6 wins, and you're bowl eligible. Heck, we're cooking with grease. Now it'd be a disappointment if they only won 6 games. After what they did week 1, it'd be a disappointment. I expect that they're going to have a player in New York at the Heisman Finals. You know what I mean? Maybe 2. So I look. I think it's the story of the year. It was the story of the year going into the year. Story of the week after week 1. And I think it will continue to be the story of the year. To see what this team does and how it turns around Colorado and all those big programs that turned their back on Dion and didn't take them. They're sitting there kicking themselves in the rear.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's the story of the year going into the season. It's still the story of the year. Now, all of a sudden they lose 2 or 3 in a row. The story will lose some glitter, but right now it's up there.
The other game interesting to see is Alabama versus Texas. Alabama 7-point favorite at home against Texas. Texas is the team getting a lot of love this year. But Bama is Bama. And to me, everybody was talking about LSU and, Florida State and everything. There's Bama over there, 3-4 quarterbacks. It don't matter. I mean, they're the dog, and they're going to get a chance to prove that this week against Texas. They go handle their business and put them away by double digits. It's going to be business as usual this year over in Tuscaloosa.
Well, they were lucky to win the game in Austin last year. Went down at a buzzer, and could have clearly a game could have went either way. Bama ended up walking off the field with a W. And I think they're going to remember that. And Jalen Milroe, the quarterback, looked very good, albeit against Middle Tennessee. That's like playing the air if you're Alabama. So, but they're at home. Bama -7. Man, I might have to do to Ronnie and buy that down to 6.5 just to avoid that hot number of 7. But I don't know. I wouldn't bet against Alabama. I would not do it.
We'll have each of us will have one pick tomorrow on Sports Shorts Daily, and then Hunter McCann and myself and TK will have plenty more picks on Saturday morning on Sports Shorts Radio, 10 to noon on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. TK, tell us about Court Street Cafe before we get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow morning.
Lunch special today. They got the ribeye steak with the potatoes and beans. We're not always here on a Thursday, so that's what they got for the Thursday lunch special. Chicken fried steak for dinner tonight. Steak night on Saturdays. They'll have the LSU game on. The Sunday brunch is very big crowd here on Sunday brunch. 805 Court Street. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. Jason and the staff do a great job here. Court Street Cafe. You'll be glad you stopped by. It's just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. If you haven't done it yet, put that on your calendar to make breakfast, lunch, or dinner at the Court Street Cafe in Port Allen.
Yeah, if you're driving in from Lafayette, you're coming in I-10 from the west side, right before you get into Baton Rouge, just hang a left, and it's right there, a couple lights down. So 2 minutes off the interstate, great little spot. You're always looking for something different to try. You get your usual spots you go to if you're coming into Baton Rouge from Lafayette, Lake Charles area, Alexandria, wherever. Stop in over at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. Tell them you heard it right here on Sports Shorts. For Tommy Chrysan, I'm Ronnie Rance. Please like and share this video. We are presented, as always, by our friends over at LeBear's Casino. Have a good one, everybody.